Hey, everybody. Mark Swets here with Paul Biesiadecki with MATIV. Welcome, Paul, and thanks for taking time for this installment of the MPTA's PaperChain chat. Paul, we just wrapped another Paper Meets Live where you were honored as the latest recipient of the Stanley O Styles Award for Industry Excellence. Congratulations. And what sticks in your mind as you reflect on that experience?
Well, thanks for having me. It was just a great honor and a privilege, and to have the opportunity to thank people in the industry and to have my wife there was just a really special day and time. So thanks to you and all the folks at the MPTA and for putting that on and giving me that opportunity. It's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, something that you'd never expect to happen, but you very much appreciate.
Yeah, it was a great moment to just celebrate with your esteemed colleagues. And I thought, Ryan Elwert, group president with MATIV, gave a wonderful speech introducing you and bringing you on stage. But it was a nice moment and a great way to kind of celebrate your 43-year career in the industry.
Yeah, Ryan did a terrific job. Thank you.
Yeah, so 43 years and counting. Long and distinguished career in the paper and packaging industry. Paul, what role has NPTA played in your career development over the years?
Well, initially I had an opportunity earlier in my time with Mohawk to be on I think it was called the Paper and Print Committee back then, and that was a good way to interact with industry colleagues, competitors, other people that I hadn't met in the industry, and it was a good insight into the way industry associations work. And then I think when I was speaking the other day, I made reference to industry traditions, and Paper Week and PDC have become cherished traditions. It's something we look forward to going to every year. It's a chance to interact with colleagues. It's the few days out of the year where we kind of bury the hatchet in terms of competition, and we are, interact with one another. And that's been a real help for me over the years, just in terms of building relationships and making contacts.
Great to hear. Paul, one of the things that I personally enjoy most about the SOS Award is that we're able to learn so much more about the recipient through the nominations process. You received a number of nominations from industry peers, the acceptance speech that you gave at Paper Meets, and just hearing from other industry colleagues once the announcement is made of the recipients, and you just learn more about kind of the whole person and what they've really done for the industry. So, things that came out of that speech about you specifically, discipline, focus, tenacity, unwavering care for your customers and your clients. Where does this come from? Where is this rooted in kind of who you are today?
Well, I don't know if it's really rooted in me so much. It's something that I was taught through the benefit of being associated with people in the industry that really helped me out. And it was both early mentors in the sales profession, people that taught me a lot of different things. And then but it was largely also the interaction with customers. And maybe that sounds a little strange, but the more I interacted with different people on the distribution side, different personalities, family businesses, you see somebody else's commitment to the business, and you see so many examples of the kind of person that you want to be in the industry, and that helped me as well.
Okay. Paul, you mentioned that one of your key takeaways from this year's Paper Meets was recognizing the need to collaborate at a higher level. Can you talk more about this and how you think it will impact business moving forward?
Well, I think that as the industry continues to mature, one of the real opportunities for collaboration is around the question of inventory. Because when I got into the business was growing, and there was a certain amount of margin for error in terms of the supply chain. And as the business has matured, that margin for error is basically gone. So at the very highest levels of the manufacturers and distributors, we have to have much greater collaboration around the question of inventory. The manufacturers want inventory, the distributors need to manage their working capital. So it's extremely important that we start to share information at a level that we haven't shared before. And I think that's starting. A lot of that's starting. I think you're seeing some new progress on that. I think AI will facilitate that, and I think we can get it done together. It's just going to take a commitment to wanting to do it.
Yeah, it's always been a bit of a dance, but it seems more imperative now than ever to build and keep those strong relationships within the industry as we kind of navigate, especially now, kind of these uncharted waters that we're in. Paul, lastly, you were a presenter at the Emerging Leaders Workshop for MPTA that was at Paper Meets, and you imparted a lot of wisdom to the group. So thank you again for being part of that panel. But you kind of mentioned 5 things at the very end that were tips that you shared with the group that you've just picked up over time. And I wrote them all down. I'm sure you may have them by memory, but I wanted to go a little deeper. I thought that was those were gold nuggets for sure, and worth sharing with our entire membership as you reflect on your career and kind of what has helped you. So you've got just kind of quickly, it was radically disrupt yourself every 3 to 5 years. Be ruthless about saying no. Investing yourself into public speaking. Having a base level of knowledge on your company's financials and how they work. And lastly, being your authentic self. So where did you come up with these? And how I think it just the magic of sharing that with the next generation of leaders within the industry. Really valuable takeaways there. But can you talk more about those?
Well, first of all, it was a great opportunity to be with those folks, and it's very encouraging to see the younger people in the business and how passionate they are about the industry. Those were things that are lessons for me. I don't necessarily think that they're transferable to everybody, but I wanted to share some things that I believe are important. The first one is to challenge yourself every 3 to 5 years ago to make yourself very, very uncomfortable, because when you're uncomfortable is when you grow. So once you get to the point where the job becomes somewhat routine, try to find a way to take on a new responsibility, take on a new job. I'm not talking about changing organizations. I'm talking about putting yourself in a situation where you have to learn very, very rapidly again. Because I think as technology continues to evolve, we're all going to have to continue to challenge ourselves to grow. And the big risk is that you keep doing what you're doing too long and you become stale. So that's something that's worked for me. And I've been very fortunate that every 3 to 5 years, I had the opportunity to do something very different. So that's just something that's worked for me. The second one is I think in our day and time, we have so many things thrown at us. And what I've learned to do is just be pretty ruthless about saying no. No to things that don't contribute to where I want to go. We have way too many reply all emails. We have social media can be a good thing, but it can be a time suck. And I think as young people, they have to think consciously about, does this or does this not help me get to where I want to go? And not necessarily say yes to everything just because you think you have to. The third thing is, and I really believe this, I've been very fortunate that I've had to do public speaking, and I was very nervous about it. So I forced myself to practice. And what I found is that even if you're halfway good at it, it sort of makes people think you're smarter than you are. And I know that doesn't sound right, but it's actually true. And so if you invest in public speaking, there's an ROI disproportionate to the investment. And conversely, if you're not good at it, you're not getting the full credit for what you're bringing to the table. So it's one of those things as a young person that you're going to get a disproportionate ROI if you just take some time to invest in it. Same thing with the finance. I don't care whether you're in HR, whether you're in research and development, the environmental side of the business. I don't care what you're doing. You should invest time in understanding the financial side of the business because it's really, really important. And it's just one of those things. It doesn't take that much time to learn to read an income statement, and it pays huge huge dividends. And then finally, I think anybody can succeed in our business. Different personality types, um, introvert, extrovert, anybody can succeed. What the industry will accept you for who you are, but what they won't necessarily accept is someone that's not authentic and real. So I just encourage everybody to be who you are, and the industry will understand you, and they will work with you as you are. And I think that's important advice for anybody in any profession.
Yeah, thank you again for sharing those. Really, really sage advice based on your experience. What excites you the most when you think about the future of our industry?
Well, I think for those of us in printing papers, there's this opportunity to really rethink paper. And when I think about it, when paper and print came about, its main purpose was as a communications technology. And we have much better, cheaper, faster ways to inform each other of things now than printing something on a sheet of paper. But all the data shows that paper and print have more trust and credibility than digital communications. They evoke emotions in a different way. They get people to act in a much different way than digital communications. So we have an opportunity to redefine the use of paper in a digital age. It's going to take some creativity. It's going to take some marketing wisdom. But I think it's possible, and I think people are already working on it. And I think that's the most important thing for us. Now that's aside from the non-print applications, and I know there's all those, and everybody does those, and that's great. But I think those of us in the printing side of it really should give a lot of thought to what does an analog communication technology mean in a digital age.
Yeah, for me, Paul, we live in a time where there's a lot of noise, and you mentioned social media and streaming, and there's a lot of talking heads out there, and so for me, paper helps sift through the noise, and it adds a legitimacy that you mentioned, um, that is a good thing. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think when people get communications, if you think of your own personal life, if you get all this stuff that we're inundated with on email, um, most of us dismiss those pretty quickly. Something that comes in the mail that looks attractive and is personalized, we tend to pay a lot of attention to it, and it's considered more trustworthy. And so we can leverage that as an industry. We just have to think it through and do it right.
Mm-hmm. Good. All right. Anything else you want to share? I think you mentioned during Paper Beats that you're taking on a different role at MATIV. You want to tell us about that?
We have a business that makes release liners, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to help run sales for that business. It's it's a global business, so it's very interesting that way. We have huge upside in that business, so I'm very excited about it. And it's one of those disruption opportunities. You can still do it. You can still disrupt yourself when you get a little further on in your career. So it's nice at this stage of career and life that to have an opportunity to try and learn something completely different and to challenge myself. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations and good luck on that. Uh, we wish you well. And again, congratulations on receiving the Stanley O Styles Industry Achievement Award and for your contributions just for the industry and as a person with the companies you've worked for. And it was great to be with you and celebrate last week in Clearwater.
Well, thanks for having me, and feel free to call anytime you guys need some help or anytime I can do something for you.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Thanks, guys.